He wrote in his journal, "It is unfortunate that I am a sculptor, a mere artist. Art has become for me a tedious decoration of my impotence. It is clear I should have been a god. Then I could have had my way with people. To shriek at them obliquely, to curse at them through the medium of clay figures, is a preposterous waste of time. A wounded man groans. I, impaled by life, emit statues. As a god, however, I would have found a diversion worthy of my contempt. I would have made the bodies of people like their thoughts, crooked, twisted, bulbous. I would have given them faces resembling their emotions, and converted the diseases of their souls into outline. What fatuous little cylindrical creatures we humans are. With our exact and placid surfaces we call beauty. And these grave and noble houses we erect. Yes, I ought to have been a god. I should have had my way with people then. I could have created a world whose horrors would have remained a consoling flattery to my cynicism. There are entities that follow whose significance is lost in a serpentine rhetoric. They hint at nights of critical terrors. During the writing of them, Mallare was engaged in a desperate pursuit of himself. He was escaping. He perceived his thoughts racing from the grasp, like maenads down a tangled slope. The dread of finding himself abandoned brought his will into life. If he were to go mad, he would leap upon his mania and ride it quietly into darkness. He would be a gay rider astride of his own phantoms. Rather than let the first insane capering of his intellect unhorse him and leave him gibbering after a vanished mount. The incoherence of the journal suddenly glides into an adagio. The panic is ended, and the lifeless-eyed man again smiles, triumphant, out of the pages. My room is red. It is hung with red curtains. I have bought only red things to put in it. The sun coming through my red curtains reddens the air of the room. I prefer to live in this painted gloom because it is possible that I hate sunlight. I hate even my rivals, the trees. Today I walked and found trees that resemble too closely people passing underneath them. One is impotent before such betrayal. But here, in my rooms, I find an almost complete annihilation of life. I am bored inventing causes for my hatred. There is a diversion on earth called humanity. Creatures full of enameled lusts and arrogant decays who go about smiling and slyly and obeying laws which protect them from each other. But they no longer divert me. They tell me of health and sanity. And I say sanity is the determined blindness which keeps them from seeing one another. More than that, of course, which keeps them from seeing ourselves. And health is the lame artifice of our bodies, which keeps us from loathing one another, and I see and I loathe. To label a mystery suffices for its dismissal, and thus they seek to dismiss me. There is but one egoist, and that is he who, intolerant of all but himself, sets out to destroy all but himself. Egoism is the despairing effort of man to return to his original godhood, to return to the undisputed and triumphant loneliness. This is the explanation out of the depth. Secrets fly from the blind. Mount, I say, and ride this secret and observe its direction. To return thus to godhood means to destroy all. And I were madder than I am to play with this prospect, unless, perhaps, There lie concealed in the elements chemistries still unknown, which might be utilized for such destruction. As it is, I can with my thought deny and recreate and impose upon the world of reality a world of phantoms more pleasing to my nature. I have become aware that lobsters, beetles, crabs, and all the crustacean monsters that are abound are not the abnormal accidents of creation, any more than they were the animate gargoyles of prehistoric eras. They are the things which an ego intent upon the diversion of truth fashioned in the beginning, each thing to seem as each thing was. But the courage of his ego deserted him, and he grew frightened when he came to give body to his most useless creation, thought. And he compromised. Yes, I could live among people fashioned truthfully in their own ages, as are the crustaceans. With this entry, Mallare found it necessary to destroy the work his hands had created. He attacked the canvases and the figures in his red room. Goliath, who, preoccupied with his own deformities, had remained indifferent to his master, serving him faithfully, however, listened to Mallare one night, sitting in the center of the room, his black hair grown into a long slant across his pale forehead. Mallare talked to his servant as a man, still asleep, reciting a dream. Here in this room, Goliath, he said, are interesting works of art which I am about to destroy. On the canvases are dithyrambic burlesques in color, vicious fantasies, despairing caricatures. My fingers fashioned them, and I remember the pleasant sleep each one brought me. But now I must beware of sleep. My egomania, like a swollen thing, has become impossible to articulate, or to reduce to impotent ironies of clay and paint. But I must beware of falling asleep under it. My friends have vanished as naturally as if by death. I have forbidden them to come. This disturbs them, but to see it, Goliath, that no one ever enters my room unless I bring them. Frighten them, if they come. Tonight, while there remained a little sanity, I had made up my mind to kill myself, but I have changed it. I will destroy instead my work. This is because I find the compromise easier, and the destruction perhaps more interesting. I feel disinclined to abandon the things I loathe. The world with its nauseous swarm of life, its monstrous multiplications, which are the eternal insult to the omniscience I feel, still holds me. I am caught in a tangle, and I remain suspended and inanimate, in the depth of a nightmare. But with your aid, Goliath, I will continue tenaciously, mimicking an outward sanity, so that people, when they see me, will go away happy, in the assurance that I am as stupid as they. Rising from his chair, Mallare attacked, one by one, the canvases and statues. Goliath watched him in silence as he moved from the pedestal to pedestal, from which, like a company of inert monsters, arose figures in clay and bronze. The first of them was a man, 4 feet in height, but massive seeming beyond its dimensions. Mallare had entitled it The Lover. Its legs were planted obliquely on the pedestal top, their ligaments wrenched into the bizarre muscular patterns. Its body rose in anatomical spiral. From its flattened pelvis that seemed like some evil bat stretched in flight, protruded a huge phallus. The head of the phallus was enlivened with the face of a saint. The eyes of this face were raised in pensive adoration. At the lower end of the phallus, the testicles were fashioned in the form of a short-necked pendulum arrested at the height of its swing. The hands of the figure clutched talon-like at the face of the head that was thrown back as if broken at the neck. Its features were obliterated by the hands, except for the mouth, which was flung open in a skull-like laugh. The figure, on the whole, was the flayed caricature of a man, done so cunningly that though the abortive hideousness of its outlines, its human caricature remained untouched. Mallare swung the figure by its base against the pedestal until it splintered and fell to pieces. He stood whispering to himself. This was the lover. My statue of the lover, dead now. A dozen similar caricatures in clay and bronze vanished under his attack. Standing against the wall and blinking at the truculent glare of the room, Goliath the dwarf waited nervously. He had become aware that his master was acting strangely. A look of ferocity slowly came into the deep black of his face. His misshapen body trembled. Mallare, the destruction ended, turned to him. And finally, a last figure. He murmured, Goliath too. Do you agree, Goliath? You will find a congenial company in the souls of these friends I have butchered. Goliath shook his head vigorously. Go away, he answered. Mallare nodded. Thanks, he smiled. You reminded me in time. It is easy to mistake you for one of my creations, although I never created such eyes, improbable eyes alive with murders. Go to bed. Alone amid the wreckage, Mallare turned to his journal. A precise smile was on his lips, and his eyes slanted toward the debris on the floor, as if he were watching the fragments fearfully. His hair made a black triangle against his forehead. He began to write. I am too clever to go mad. To go mad is to succumb to the sanity of others. Since I avoid death, I must be wary of his misshapen brother. Yet I can prove to my satisfaction tonight that I am mad. I have destroyed something. It was because the intricate presences of life awakened too many despairs in me. Now I am alone. I must be cautious of my thought. I feel words like rivals in my head. Alas, I must think in words. Words are the inevitable canonizations of life. But worse, they are property loaned me, and not my own. I must have my own and live with it entirely. Yet there is some comfort in words. They are not entirely sullied by their promiscuity. Words are like nuts people pass each other without ever opening. The insides of words are often virginal, but many words, too many words, constitute intelligence, and intelligence is the stupidity which enables man to imprison himself in lies. Years have passed, and still I live. I do not look for death. Death is too simple a variant of destruction. My cleverness demands more of me than to destroy the world by hiding myself from it. And there is a song in the windows of the high streets that sometimes relieves the black tension in my mind. It is important now that I retrace my way toward a makeshift of omnipotence. But for this, I will have to find a woman.